I'm going to show you how to do a bean casserole for £4 or under, hopefully. And this is a casserole, a bean casserole, that you can adapt to suit your tastes. So I'm going to show you various ways you can make it into a different meal. Basically, we're going to do a simple bean casserole to start with, and then I'll show you some variations. I have a tin of mixed beans. These were from a discount store online and were 65p. And I had these organic butter beans, which were also from the same discount store, and these were £1. I'm going to use about half a can of these and the whole can of these. If you prefer, you can use dried beans, soak them overnight and rinse them the following day and boil them up for 45 minutes before you use them. But I forgot to take the beans out last night and soak them, so I'm using cans. If you do it the dry bean way, it works out really cheap. Cheaper than this. So if money really is tight and you have the time, I really would recommend that you try using dried beans and then boil them up so they're tender and they won't be poisonous when you put them in your recipes. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to chop this shallot. Now I'm going to cook it in the slow cooker. I've heated up the slow cooker and I'm going to put in a little bit of olive oil just to heat up, and we're going to very gently cook the shallot and half of this organic fennel bulb. Fennel gives a really nice aniseed flavour. If you don't like fennel or you can't afford fennel, you could use maybe a star anise instead, and that's just pennies. This is from Riverford Organic and this fennel bulb was £2.75 and I'm using half of it. This shallot was also from the same veg box and it's a big shallot and that's probably about 30p worth. I'm also going to use a carrot. These carrots were 60p and I'm using one. I got quite a big bag of carrots for 60p. So this is maybe, we'll say 10p, but it's probably nearer 5p. Okay, so first of all I'm going to peel and chop the shallot. And I'm going to chop the fennel in half, and half will go back in the refrigerator. So slice this as thickly or finely as you like. It's a very wet and windy day today. I went down to the PLE to my pictures. I was down there for a while and I went and bought a pair of smart boots. Dan and I are going out for dinner later in the week and I've got a nice new dress and it's a little bit gothic and I wanted some boots or shoes to go with it, and I found an ideal pair which were in the sale. Now these I'm going to put in the slow cooker with a little bit of salt, and then we will just let them sweat down slowly. They won't colour, they'll just start to soften. There we go, it's all in. Let's give it a stir. Add a little bit of salt. And that will just sweat down gently. Peeling this carrot, and I'm going to cut this into strips and then dice it. Carrot helps to give a really nice sweet flavour to any stew or casserole without using sugar. I love carrots. I have absolutely no idea therefore why I've got such terrible eyesight. Something must have gone wrong somewhere. Anyway, this sort of thing is amazing during the winter months. It's so warming and comforting to come home to, and nutritious, particularly when money is really tight. It's filling. We all need to be thinking of ways to get our grocery bills down as prices continue to rise substantially. And it's never by a few pence, it's always 20 pence, 30 pence, sometimes even more. There we go. So I'm going to add that now to the pot. I'm also adding half a red pepper. This is a simple way of splitting the pepper. Always wash your vegetables well. This has already been washed. And then I'm just going to cut this up into strips and then probably rough dice. It adds another flavour dimension. The red pepper was 60 pence from the farm shop and we're using half of it, so that's only 30 pence. If you don't like pepper, you don't have to add it if you don't want to. This gives it a lovely smoky barbecue flavour. This again is optional. And some dried herbs. You can add fresh. And give that a stir. I'm also going to add some chilli ketchup. This needs using. It says it's rich and smoky. There's only a little bit left. If you don't have any tomato puree, either regular ketchup or something like this makes a good substitute. I'm just rinsing around this with a drop of water. Waste not, want not. That's done now. I'm also going to chop up a little bit of this pickled chilli. Again, if you don't like chilli, you don't have to add it. We like quite spicy food. You can just do so much with this recipe. Change it however you like to make your own recipe. And this is going in. This is only roughly chopped. We like those little chilli pieces, but it will cook down anyway for the next 2 or 3 hours. And it all melds together. And it already smells amazing, and we haven't even added the stock yet. I'm now at this point going to add the beans because I like to stir them through so they take on all the flavours before I add the tomatoes and the stock and any more seasonings. And there you go. I've only used half the butter beans, as I mentioned. You can use the rest of the can in other recipes like a soup or a stew. You can even have butter bean mash. You just mash it down with a nice bit of butter and some salt and pepper. It's a good alternative to mashed potatoes. This little can of chopped tomatoes is a leading supermarket brand, and I was lucky enough to be able to get 4 of these. These are 200ml size for only £2, so that's 50 pence. They're nice and rich, lovely rich juice, nice and tomatoey. I'm going to put this in now as a base. You can use passata if you prefer, and I'm going to give it a stir. And now I'm going to add some water. I'm actually using hot water because I've heated up the crock pot, and to avoid the pot breaking I need to use hot water. I'm going to pour some of this in the can. I'm also going to pour some in this can as well to use all that juicy goodness. and I'll see how we are, whether we need any more liquid going in. That looks to be about right. So I'm going to also add about a teaspoon of this bouillon. This can cost me about £2.30 from the health food store. However, I only use a teaspoon at a time because it does have sodium in and it's quite rich in flavour. So again, it's maybe 10-15 pence. You could use a stock cube, but these are about 50 pence each. It depends what your budget is or what you're able to source. If you don't have either, just use even water from steaming your vegetables. That works just as well. And that's what they used to do in the Second World War. They used to use the veg water. I use veg water as well, but I don't have any, which is why I'm using hot water and some bouillon. And that will cook away quite happily now for the next 3 or 4 hours. I will do it on high for about an hour, and then I'll turn it down to low and let it simmer for 2 to 3 hours longer until everything is tender. What do you do if, for example, somebody wants meat and you don't? Well, you can make it into a casserole, a deconstructed casserole if you like, by cooking, say, a couple of sausages and either serving them whole on top of the bean stew, or if everybody eats meat, you could use a couple of good quality sausages, fry them off and then slice them and then add them to the pan for the last 30 minutes. Also, if you don't have a slow cooker, you can just cook it gently on the stove or even in a casserole dish in the oven at about 180 Celsius, 350 Fahrenheit for a couple of hours until everything is cooked through. But I would recommend that you brown the sausages off first before adding them. If you're vegetarian or vegan, just do it on its own, and again you can just do it in the oven if you don't have a slow cooker in a casserole dish for maybe about an hour, hour and a half on a fairly medium to low heat. However, I mean, some people have an Aga and can cook the casserole in the bottom of the oven for quite a long time. It's entirely up to you. There are also other ways of presenting dishes as well. If you want some carbohydrate, for example, other than what's in the beans, remember that beans and other pulses are protein and carb. You could serve it with some good quality French bread, for example, or you could serve it with some polenta. Remember to season it and cook it up in some vegetable stock. You want plenty of seasoning because otherwise it's quite bland, and you can serve it on the side, or you could serve it with a jacket sweet potato or a normal potato. So this is a really versatile recipe. I'm going to show you a method of serving it with sausage separately for those who choose to eat meat, and I'll show you that now. There is enough bean casserole there to feed 4 people. Say you're having an inexpensive supper party and maybe 2 of you eat meat and 2 of you don't. I'm going to show you what to do with these. There's about half a pound of sausage and there's only 2 here. Now, during lockdown, I decided to learn how to do my own curing and smoking because Dan enjoys charcuterie, for example, and smoked salmon's also popular in our household. But I didn't want us having the nitrates and nitrites I wanted to do something in a more natural way. A lot of the cured meats in Italy are made without nitrates and nitrites. It's a healthier, very old traditional way of curing meat and fish. Dan soon picked up how to make sausages. I used to do my own recipes, and then he used to use the sausage maker and put them into the sausage meat into the skins, and these he actually made while I was away. I was staying at his mum's. These have been in the freezer. I stayed at his mum's a month or two ago, and he just made up this recipe because he's watched me quite a few times. He made it from start to finish, and these are like solid meat. So if two of you were very hungry and you ate meat, then one of these each would be ample. If four of you were eating the meat, all you would have to do is slice the sausages once they've been cooked and add them to the bean casserole. What I'm going to do is just fry them off, and I will show you a way of presenting the dish once the casserole is cooked. Obviously, you would serve the sausage hot, but these are beautiful. The free-range pork from the local butchers, which was maybe about a £5, and he made 8 sausages out of this, and these are 2, so it's an inexpensive way of having meat in your diet if that's what you want. If you like, say, plant-based meat, like the no meat stuff, you could cook those and add them to the casserole. So I don't eat any of these plant-based meats at all. This is as pure as it gets. I'm going to separate the sausages. I've washed my hands, and the board is now going to be washed, and these 2 sausages I'm going to put in a pan. I've got a little bit of olive oil in there, and I'm just going to let them cook very gently because they're thick. This has been cooking for about an hour now, so I'm just going to test it for seasoning and flavours. It smells lovely. It's nice, but I think we're going to add a couple more things to make it extra special. Also going to add a tiny drop of apple cider vinegar. This is my own, and it's got the mother in. I need to make some more soon. Just a tad, and then we'll stir that through and carry on cooking it for an extra 2 hours. This is the non-veggie version. We've got a nice spoon of beans, or 2. Put a sausage on top, and there we have it. A lovely bean casserole with the optional sausage.